Ryan Ham here, and I'm going to show you some high standard shotguns that I've got. I've got a couple of them in. I intend to clean them up some and get them ready to sell. Maybe keep one, if it doesn't sell. They're nice shotguns, and I don't currently own one that I don't intend to sell. Pretty decent wood. The recoil pad is in decent shape on that one. Some surface corrosion. Somebody's tried to paint this one green. Note this says it's a J.C. Higgins Model 20. That is the store brand for High Standard. Technically these are all J.C. Higgins, but made by High Standard, so I call them High Standards. As is typical of these, with a really thin rib, this one has a rib that has been bent, and my intent is to straighten that out with a screwdriver. Take all the paint off. It's missing the mid bead. I think I'm gonna either just leave that the way it is or maybe fill it in with a little bit of epoxy. I don't know. Just generally clean it up. It's got this funky choke system at the end. I've got one choke tube here that I pulled off of another gun that I cut down, but my intent really is not to leave it there. My intent is to cut it down like I did with another shotgun previously. The style that this device was going for is kind of out of vogue now. Nobody needs muzzle brakes that are that gaudy and obnoxious. And threaded choke tubes are great, but I've only got the one, and I'll just turn it into a defensive arm. This one's got a plain barrel, but I have to chop it down because if you look carefully, you could see that it's got a bulge. Now, not going to do much good with a bulge. It's not going to sell very well, so I'll cut that off. Since it's a plain barrel, it's a little more difficult to cut it, but I'll kind of demonstrate how I do that. And this one down here, a little more rust issues, a little more issues with the stock, a couple of dents, but that'll all come out. And what I'll do is I'll kind of update you a little bit later on in the video, maybe demonstrate a couple of techniques, and then give you a final update and show you the finished product. Okay, we've got the first gun mostly done. I went ahead and chopped the barrel off, and that's about 18 1/4 to 18 1/2 inches, so perfectly legal. Touched up the muzzle there. Took most of the green off. Cleaned up the stock. You could check out my other video for how I cleaned up the stock. Took most of the rust out, detail stripped it, and cleaned out whatever gunk was in there. There's still a little bit of green left on it, but overall that's pretty much done. I'm going to add a bead to it in a little bit. I straightened out the rib, not perfectly, but good enough. It's now just a utility gun, and that was what I was looking for. Cut it down, pretty much just clamped a little miter box in and used a hacksaw to cut it off. And you can see that's about as good as it gets. It's square. It doesn't really have to be square. I cut the rib back a little bit further using a grinder and then dressed it up some. It'll look a lot better when I get the bead on it, but again, it's just a utility shotgun. So there's that one. And next I'm going to work on the other vent rib gun, and we'll see how that one turns out. So you can see I've got the second shotgun cut down. Did the muzzle a little bit differently, but tried something new. This isn't my first rodeo. If you notice, there's three, 1, 2, 3 cut off barrels and then the old choke tube. I've done this before. I like this one a little bit better. I think I'll do them that way in the future. So cleaned it up, cleaned all the gunk up. Still got some finish missing on the receiver, but overall turned out pretty good. Cleaned up the dents, came out of the rib pretty well. And again, I'll probably put a bead on this in a little bit and call it good. The one with the bulge in the barrel is going to be a little bit different. In order to cut that one, what you've got to do is you've got to run a string from that bead all the way back and center it on the receiver. When you do that, you're going to end up cutting it somewhere, well, you see where the other two are, somewhere around there, probably 18.5, maybe a little longer than these other two. And what I'll do is I'll put a piece of Scotch tape over the string there, and it should be a straight line back to the receiver here, and then I'll put Scotch tape right where I want to put the bead up here, and I'll center punch it so that I've got a good start for the hole, and drill the hole, tap it, and then clean up on the inside when I put the bead on. Haven't done that before. I've always done vent rib barrels. I had a friend who would install a bead for $10, so I'd always cut them and get them to him, but thought I'd give it a try. Alright, I'll see you when I get this one done. Okay, I've got it set up, got the string running from the front sight with Scotch tape around the area that I plan on cutting, and then right down through the rib. I actually laid it back down to here, but I taped it here because it was taping better. So you see the 18-inch mark there. I'm going to cut it in front of it. I'm going to cut it right there, and then the bead will go there. So right through that white string is where I plan on hitting it with the center punch and then drilling, and that should work. Okay, I'm back with the third gun, which is actually the one in the middle. Cut off, bead installed, muzzle crowned, everything cleaned up. It was actually a cleaner gun. It's just a lot more difficult to locate the bead on a gun that doesn't have a vent rib. I'll go ahead and put the beads on the ribs. That's an easy job. And if you want to look, I can show you. Of course you want to look because you're watching this. I'll show you there's a well, maybe you can't tell too much, but there it is. There is a bulge in the barrel. You can see it a lot better there with the reflection. And that was why I had to cut it. Also, most of these barrels, what you're really looking at is you're looking at a gun that's, since it doesn't have an interchangeable choke, is not really good for sporting use anymore. They're also really smooth actions, so really effective home defense type gun. It's also got a slam fire feature where when you hold the trigger down and slide the slide forward, it'll go off every time. And that's dubious as a home defense use, but well, some people like it. And it's a feature you don't get in a whole lot of guns. Ithaca 37, I'm not sure if it still does that on the Ithacas. I know on the J.C. Higgins / high standard shotguns it does. So there's 3 shotguns going off to the gun show this weekend. Probably sell 2 or 3. Sometimes one won't sell, but usually home defense shotguns under $200 are an easy sell. And I'll probably end up selling the choke tube on eBay, just because I don't need it anymore. And I've got a collection of barrels. I got a whole bunch of cut off barrels that I'll just add to my collection with here. And there we go. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. If you'd like, I can do a follow-up video if I didn't answer something well. If I end up with one of these guns over the gun show weekend, I'll go ahead and do a video on how to take it down, or I might do that later. There you go. Enjoy. Thank you. Please subscribe, like, favorite, share. I like doing this, but videotaping, it does take some time and effort. Thank you.